Hi, David. Thank you so much for being here and for talking to me. So, you are the Chief Transition Officer of Stedin. This is a relatively new responsibility in the energy sector. Could you please elaborate a bit and tell me what the top priorities of a CTO are?
Yeah, so CTO is the Chief Transition Officer. So first of all, it's about realizing the energy transition. So in the European context, it's, for example, realizing our part of 50 for 55. If you dive a little bit deeper in this, where am I busy with? It's first of all, it's around digitalization. Secondly, it's about understanding our investment roadmap. It was quite easy years ago, but now with all the uncertainty of the energy transition, it's quite complicated to develop the path of our investments. And largely, I'm a lot busy with our stakeholders to discuss the energy transition and describe the path going forward.
That makes absolute sense, and it also is very important, as you said, both for the Fit for 55, the Green Deal, etc., but also for the environment. Which brings me in another, let's say, topic, which is ethics. I know that you have studied ethics, which for me was, how can I say it? It was very nice reading about it because personally, I believe that ethics is a very important topic in the energy transition and in the energy sector in general. How do you see this degree of yours being important and helpful in your day-to-day work?
That's a lovely question. So I'm an engineer and I studied ethics because I learned a lot of stuff at the engineering department, but I also wanted more the societal context. Why are we doing this, or why should I do this? And I think that's coming back every day in my job. So why are we doing this? And it motivates, but also structures a lot what we do. It's not only about running a utility or something like that, but it's also for the greater good. We want to fight climate change, but we also have to make sure that all the customers, but also the people in the country are happy around it. So there are a lot of ethics part around my job. I'm not only always aware of it, but it's always there.
So this is very good to hear because I also believe that ethics is very important, also for the future generations. No pressure there for you. So I can't help now but ask, what are the must-win battles for Stedin and thus for you personally as a CTO?
It's very related to what I just said. So our investment agenda is large due to the repowering Europe, etc. So, but also all what already started. So we have to invest a lot in our grid. So I think if it comes to the priorities of Stedin, it's first of all around increasing the capacity of our grid. Secondly, it's a lot around making more usage of the current grid, make sure that we optimize the current usage. So then we come to themes like digitalization, flexibility, smart charging. All these stuff become then very important. So that's a very large must-win battle for Stedin. And I think the last one is keeping the grids operate as they do today. So keep the quality high, and that all in a very complex time scheme. For example, today supply chains are challenging, workforce is challenging, getting sufficient permits on time to realize your project is challenging. So that's the key priority for us, enabling the energy transition, making sure that we do what's needed.
Okay, so this is what Stedin will do for the Netherlands and for the energy transition and for the EU. Let me reverse that. What can the Netherlands, what can the country and the EU Commission do for Stedin and for DSOs, as important as Stedin, in order to help win these battles?
Yeah, a couple of things, I think, and they're related to the challenges. I think first of all, it's very important on a European scale that we have a regulation scheme that supports the direction we want to go. That means that the grids are facilitating, so we need a regulator scheme that facilitates the energy transition. Secondly, I think we need help around increasing the speed of realizing infrastructure. So that means permits, procedures around permits should speed up. That means, for example, that we have regulation to stimulate flexible use of the current grids. And all these things are very EU related, so they can make a huge difference in realizing the energy transition.
Do you think that because we live in a continent, we have a union of countries that are not in the same phase in the energy transition. So do you think that the EU Commission should have, let's say, different regulations for various states according to their needs? Or you think that we can go with a master regulation about everybody, regarding everybody?
I'm afraid this will be a bit a diplomatic answer, in the sense that there has to be one direction in the EU, but at the same time there has to be some freedom per country to accommodate the current situation.
Well, beautifully said, beautifully said. So what is Stedin's flagship project, which would be inspiring for the Enlit Europe community?
So first of all, there's a very interesting project around hydrogen we do. I think what we see, not everything can go through the electricity grid. So we need molecules to make the energy transition happen. And hydrogen is one of these projects, and it's very interesting. Secondly, I think, which is very interesting, is what we do on flexibility. We have got a flex challenge where we ask all market parties, but also other local parties, to help us to utilize the grid to the maximum. And we've got a couple of projects below that, also with the other grid operators in the Netherlands, for example, a market platform to deal with the flexibility needs we have. GoPax is the name. And I think thirdly, which I'm very proud of in the Netherlands, is our innovation on electrical vehicles. We, for example, with all the grid operators in the Netherlands, we have Enlit, which is really innovative on getting the EV, the electrical vehicle, connected to the grid, making use of the room in the grid, which is there at certain moments and which isn't there during peak times, and how can we facilitate charging those electrical vehicles when needed and make sure they use the same standards, etc. So these are a couple of projects I'm very proud of, and there are a lot more, but let's keep to these.
So these flagship, let's say, projects would require, I would assume, also some digital transition. Digitalization will be an important aspect of them. So I would like to ask you, which new technologies do you think will drive the energy transition?
You're absolutely right. So there's no energy transition without digitalization. So it's really key that we digitalize. I think there are a lot of technologies. It's around data sharing. It's around doing your calculations of your grid, right? But it's also about, it's more longer term, but also what are the potentials of blockchain, for example. We have all to find it out, and there are a lot of digitalization gives a lot of potential benefits. Also, I didn't mention artificial intelligence, and it's a bit a buzzword, but if you see what we can do with it and how it helps our work, it's just we're on the beginning of the digitalization.
You're absolutely right. AI, blockchain, they are a little bit of buzzwords, but they are the new technologies that will bring the energy transition forward. So my last question for you, I would like you to look a little bit in the future and tell me what will the next few years bring for Rotterdam, for the Netherlands and the EU.
If I look forward, well, I wish, let's make this more a wish. What I would wish where we would be there is that we made significant steps into new legislation. Make sure that we stimulate local usage of energy, that we stimulate using flexible use of the grid. So flexibility should be much more stimulated, but also that we are full speed ahead on realizing the targets which we have on CO2 reduction. So that's what I hope we are in a couple of years, because we need to speed up that process as well. I think secondly, I hope we made huge steps in having a view on how the energy mix looks like in the future. So the more clarity that comes on the future, the better we can plan ahead to make our grids ready for the future.
Thank you very much, David.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoy it.